All started with a letter. Emily Hart had always lived in the shadows. A shy, soft-spoken girl with a heart too big for her small world. She spent her days working at a flower shop in a quiet corner of town. Her mother was ill, her younger brother barely managing his school fees, and her father's once thriving bookstore now collected more dust than readers. Bills piled up. Nights grew heavier. Her silent cries echoed in the pages of her worn-out journal, the only place where her thoughts ever found voice. One cold evening, as she walked home from work through the misty streets, an envelope was slipped into her mailbox. Elegant paper, gold-trimmed, her name written in perfect calligraphy. Inside was a proposal. Not for a job. Not for money. A marriage proposal. Dear Miss Hart. You do not know me, but I know enough about your situation to offer a solution. If you agree to marry me for 1 year, I will pay off your family's debts and provide for your brother's education and your mother's treatment. You will be free to leave after 1 year, no strings attached. If you accept, come to Rosewood Chapel this Saturday at 4 p.m. I will be waiting. Yours, A. Kingsley. Her hands trembled as she read it again and again. Who was A. Kingsley? Was this a prank? A trap? But the envelope had also included a bank statement. Her father's bookstore loan had already been cleared. And a second note. Consider this an advance. She stayed up the whole night staring at the letter, thinking about her mother's pale face, her brother's dreams of being an architect, and her own shattered hopes of ever falling in love. Saturday came like a storm cloud. Dressed in a simple beige dress, her mother's pendant clutched close to her heart, Emily entered the silent chapel. Candles flickered. The air smelled of roses and sandalwood. And then she saw him. A tall, sharp-featured man stood at the altar. His posture as still as stone. Black suit, cold gray eyes, and an expression that neither welcomed nor rejected her presence. You came, he said quietly. Who are you? She whispered. Adam Kingsley. The name meant nothing to her, but his presence did something strange to her heartbeat. Why me? She asked, her voice barely audible. Because you are exactly what I need, he replied. Someone who won't ask questions. Someone who will disappear after a year. And what do you need me for? He didn't answer. Instead, he extended his hand. She looked at it for what felt like forever. Then, slowly, she placed her trembling fingers in his. They married that evening. No guests. No vows beyond what the officiant read. No kisses. Just a contract. A deal signed with soft tears and silent hope. That night, she moved into his grand estate, Rosehill Manor. A place straight out of a forgotten fairy tale. Beautiful and cold. Lavish and lonely. Adam had only one rule. Don't ask about the locked room at the end of the hall. He didn't. But she wondered. She wondered why a stranger would marry a girl he didn't know. Why he looked at her with eyes full of pain. Why he spent hours walking in the woods behind the house. Why the piano in the drawing room was always left open, but never played. Emily, with all her shyness, never imagined herself in a mansion, married to a mysterious man whose past was wrapped in silence. But she told herself that she could endure a year. For her family. She just didn't know that the truth waiting behind the locked door would break her heart in ways she never imagined. End of Part 1. Part 2. The Locked Door. The days at Rosehill Manor moved slowly. Emily woke up each morning to silence, the sun streaming through velvet curtains and the distant sound of birds outside the garden. The staff was minimal, just a quiet old housekeeper named Mrs. Alcott, who rarely spoke unless necessary, and a gardener who never stepped inside. Adam was there, but he was not present. He spent most of his time in his study or away on mysterious errands. When they shared meals, conversation was sparse. He looked at her, often too long as if trying to figure her out, then looked away just as quickly. But he was never unkind. He noticed when she skipped meals and left tea at her door. When she caught a cold, he sent for the doctor before she even asked. There was something broken in him, Emily could feel it, something that mirrored her own quiet sadness. One evening, while wandering the upstairs corridor, She paused outside the locked door. The handle was old brass, worn smooth by time. A faint scent of lavender and something else, something bitter, drifted from beneath the frame. She touched the doorknob just once and felt a cold shiver run up her arm. "I said not to go near that room." She turned to find Adam standing behind her. His voice wasn't raised, but it held a quiet thunder. "I'm sorry," she whispered, stepping back. He looked past her at the door, and for the first time she saw a flicker of fear in his eyes. "It belonged to someone I once knew. She was important." Emily nodded, not pressing further. But her heart sank a little. Was that woman the reason for this marriage? A broken love? A hidden past? Or something even darker? Later that night, as she sat alone in the drawing room, she found herself drawn to the grand piano. Without thinking, her fingers danced over the keys, playing a soft lullaby her mother used to hum. Suddenly she felt someone behind her. "Adam." That song. She used to play it too. Emily turned, surprised by the softness in his tone. "Who was she?" she asked, barely above a whisper. Adam sat beside her on the bench, staring at the keys. "Her name was Evelyn. She was everything. My fiancée. She died in that room." Emily's breath caught. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice trembling. "So am I," he replied, standing up. "I thought marrying someone else might make the memories fade. But they don't." She didn't sleep that night. Not because of fear, but because her heart hurt for the man who lived with ghosts. And deep inside, a quiet ache began to bloom. End of part 2. To be continued. The next morning arrived with a cold emptiness. Emily sat by the window of their modest home. Her hands clenched around a steaming mug of tea she hadn't touched. Adam had left early, avoiding eye contact, murmuring something about business. The silence he left behind screamed louder than any argument. Emily's mother, still recovering, smiled weakly from the couch, unaware of the storm brewing within her daughter. "He's a good man, Emily," she said gently. "I can see it in the way he looks at you." Emily gave a small nod, but her thoughts were spiraling. The revelation about the contract, the arrangement between Adam and her uncle, played over and over in her mind. She had married a stranger, but what hurt the most was that this stranger had willingly kept her in the dark, letting her believe it was all a choice, a chance at love. Later that day, Adam returned home. Emily met him at the door. Her eyes filled with a mixture of pain and quiet strength. "We need to talk," she said. He nodded and followed her to the living room. For a long time neither spoke. "Why didn't you tell me the truth from the beginning?" she asked finally. Adam took a deep breath. "Because I didn't want you to hate me. 'Cause I was scared you wouldn't give me a chance if you knew it was an arrangement." "You're right. I wouldn't have." Her words landed like a slap, but there was no venom in her voice, only sorrow. "But I fell for you, Emily. Somewhere along the way I forgot the deal. I just wanted to be with you." Emily turned away, her eyes moist. "I can't trust what's real anymore. Was anything we had genuine? Or was it all in?" The next morning arrived with a cold emptiness. Emily sat by the window of their modest home. Her hands clenched around a steaming mug of tea she hadn't touched. Adam had left early, avoiding eye contact, murmuring something about business. The silence he left behind screamed louder than any argument. Emily's mother, still recovering, smiled weakly from the couch, unaware of the storm brewing within her daughter. "He's a good man, Emily," she said gently. "I can see it in the way he looks at you." Emily gave a small nod, but her thoughts were spiraling. The revelation about the contract, the arrangement between Adam and her uncle, played over and over in her mind. She had married a stranger, but what hurt the most was that this stranger had willingly kept her in the dark, letting her believe it was all a choice, a chance at love. Later that day, Adam returned home. Emily met him at the door. Her eyes filled with a mixture of pain and quiet strength. "We need to talk," she said. He nodded and followed her to the living room. For a long time neither spoke. Why didn't you tell me the truth from the beginning? She asked finally. Adam took a deep breath. Because I didn't want you to hate me. 'Cause I was scared you wouldn't give me a chance if you knew it was an arrangement. You're right. I wouldn't have. Her words landed like a slap, but there was no venom in her voice, only sorrow. But I fell for you, Emily. Somewhere along the way I forgot the deal. I just wanted to be with you. Emily turned away, her eyes moist. I can't trust what's real anymore. Was anything we had genuine? Or was it all in? Emily stared at the necklace in her hand, the same one her mother used to wear when she was a little girl. She hadn't seen it in years. The silver chain glinted under the soft lighting of the penthouse bedroom. Her heart pounded. Why did Adam have it? Was it a coincidence, or something far more complicated? She clutched it tightly and stepped out into the hallway. Her feet carried her to the library where she'd last seen Adam reading. He was there, leaning against the fireplace, sipping something warm, his expression lost in thought. He looked up when she entered, his eyes instantly softening. Couldn't sleep. Emily didn't answer. Instead, she held out the necklace with a trembling hand. Where did you get this? Adam's face froze. He put the cup down and walked over slowly. That belonged to my mother. It was found in her belongings after she died. Emily blinked. Her breath caught in her throat. But this necklace is exactly like my mother's. She lost it the night she disappeared. Adam stared at her. The air between them went still. Your mother disappeared. Yes, she whispered. I was 6. She tucked me in that night. And then she was gone. No note, no explanation. Just vanished. Adam sank into the nearest chair, running a hand through his hair. Emily, I think we need to talk. Adam led her to a hidden room behind a bookshelf, a small study filled with files and photographs. He pulled out an old folder, dust clinging to its edges. I've been investigating my mother's death for years, he said. It was ruled an accident, but I never believed it. She worked at a women's shelter and was close to exposing something big. Money laundering, trafficking. Something dangerous. She told me if anything happened to her, I should look into a man named Victor Hayes. Emily's heart raced. Victor Hayes. My father worked for someone named Hayes. He never talked about it, but I remember hearing arguments. Then one night, he was arrested. They sat in stunned silence. Their pasts, 2 broken pieces of a puzzle, were fitting together in ways neither expected. The next few days were a blur of revelations. Emily and Adam pored over documents, piecing together the twisted threads of their family histories. Despite the storm of emotions, something else was happening, something quiet and powerful. One night, as they looked through files late into the evening, Emily rested her head on Adam's shoulder without thinking. He didn't move. His hand gently covered hers. You're stronger than you think, he murmured. So are you, she replied. In that moment, it wasn't about marriage contracts or secrets. It was just them. 2 scarred souls, finding comfort in each other's presence. Days later, Adam found a photo hidden behind another. It was of his mother and a younger man, Emily's father. They were smiling, standing in front of the shelter. She was trying to protect him, Adam whispered. They were in love. Emily gasped. Then, that means they weren't just connected through crime. They cared for each other. Maybe your father didn't betray her. Maybe he was framed. The discovery shattered the lies they'd been told all their lives. But someone else knew they were getting close to the truth. That night, their car tires were slashed. A warning note was left on the windshield. Stop digging or you'll regret it. Emily's hands shook as she read the words. Adam pulled her close. They know we're close. But I'm not backing down. Not when the woman I'm falling for is in danger. Emily looked up at him, her eyes wide. You're falling for me. He cupped her cheek gently. I know this started as a contract. But I can't fake how I feel anymore. Emily, I love you. Tears welled in her eyes. She had never felt so vulnerable, so safe. I love you too, she whispered. But their love story was only just beginning. Because the real villain was about to reveal himself. A cold wind howled outside as the storm inside Emily and Adam's lives reached its peak. The note left on their car wasn't just a threat, it was a declaration of war. The couple tightened security at the estate, but fear still crawled beneath Emily's skin. She couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Her heart raced every time the phone rang or a car passed by the gate. Adam, however, had changed. He wasn't just a man trying to uncover the past anymore. He was a protector, a husband. And Emily, once the shy girl who could barely speak up, was becoming something stronger, fiercer, braver. And she was ready to fight. They arranged a discreet meeting with one of Adam's late mother's friends, a retired social worker named Agnes. She met them in a dusty cafe. Her eyes filled with years of unspoken sorrow. "You're not the first ones to ask about Victor Hayes," she said in a low voice. "But you might be the last." Emily leaned forward. "Why?" "Because everyone else who came too close disappeared," Agnes replied. Victor Hayes was part of something much bigger. He wasn't just laundering money. He was running a private trafficking ring. "Your mother," she said, looking at Adam, "found out. And your father," she said, turning to Emily, "was helping her expose it." Emily's heart shattered all over again. "So they were both silenced," she whispered. Agnes nodded. "Your father was framed and thrown in prison. Your mother was killed. Made to look like an accident. They died trying to protect others." Adam clenched his fists. "Then we finish what they started." Back at the estate, the couple doubled down on their investigation. Emily went through old contacts and archives. Adam used his influence to dig through sealed government files. But they didn't expect betrayal to come from inside. One evening, Adam's assistant, Jared, arrived at the estate with urgent documents. But as Adam opened them, he frowned. They were fake. Distractions. He turned to Jared. "Where did you get these?" Jared hesitated. I was told by a man." Scar across his cheek. "He said you'd know what to do." Adam's blood ran cold. Victor Hayes. He was alive. And closer than they'd ever imagined. Jared didn't know he'd been used, but Adam did. And now they were in real danger. That night, as the wind howled and thunder roared, Adam found Emily staring out the window, holding the old necklace between her fingers. "You okay?" he asked softly. She turned, tears streaming down her face. "I'm scared." He walked over, pulling her into his arms. "Me too. But I'd rather face this fear with you than live a lie without you." She looked up at him, her eyes wide. "Even though we started as strangers, even though this was just a deal, you still feel the same?" He nodded. "I've never felt anything this real. You make me want to be the kind of man your father died hoping existed." And there, in the eye of the storm, she kissed him like it was the last night on earth. Their love had become more than circumstance. It was choice. It was strength. They knew they couldn't keep running, so they decided to set a trap. Emily leaked false information, documents pointing to a hidden location where evidence was supposedly stored, a secluded cabin in the woods. They placed cameras, mics, and waited. And Victor Hayes showed up. Older, colder, with dead eyes and a cruel smirk. But what he didn't know was that the police were already on their way. And everything he said was being recorded. "You think this ends with your little fairy tale marriage?" he sneered at Adam and Emily. "You're nothing but children playing in fire." Emily stepped forward, her voice steady. "No. We're the children of the people you destroyed. And we're here to finish what they started." Just as Hayes lunged at her, the police burst in. It was over, or so they thought. Back at the estate, Adam received a letter postmarked the day before Hayes' arrest. No return address. Just one line. "You think he was the head? He was just a pawn." Inside the envelope, a photo of Adam's father. alive, smiling, shaking hands with Victor Hayes. Adam's knees gave out. Emily rushed to his side. "What is it?" He handed her the photo, his voice hollow. "My father. He's alive. And he was part of it all." The silence in the room was thick, unbearable. Emily stared at the photograph, her heart thudding in her chest. Adam's father, alive. And smiling beside the very man who had tried to destroy their lives. "No," Adam whispered, his voice cracking. "He died in a plane crash. I was told it was an accident." Emily placed a hand over his, grounding him. "Maybe that's what they wanted you to believe." The moment felt unreal, like the floor beneath their lives had been ripped out, revealing layers of lies and manipulation. Every truth they thought they knew was now stained with doubt. But there was no more room for fear. Only the need for answers. The photo had one clue: a hotel logo in the background. A discreet luxury resort in Switzerland. Within hours, Adam and Emily were on a flight, determined to uncover the truth. Each mile brought them closer not only to the man Adam once admired, but to a reckoning neither of them was truly ready for. They arrived under aliases, checking in quietly. Adam hadn't slept. He kept staring at the photo, memorizing every detail. Emily too was quiet. Her fingers traced the necklace her father gave her. "What if he's been pulling strings this whole time?" she asked. "What if everything, us, was part of his game?" Adam turned to her, his voice firm. "Then we rewrite the game." The concierge confirmed it. A man matching the photo had been staying there, Mr. Cole. Room 806. Adam's hand trembled slightly as he knocked. Emily held her breath. The door creaked open. And there he was, David Cole. Older, with silver-streaked hair and cold, calculating eyes. He looked at Adam as if seeing a ghost. "You're not supposed to be here." Adam's jaw clenched. "Neither are you." David let them in. The suite was lavish, untouched by the pain his son had lived through. He poured himself a drink with eerie calm. "I suppose you have questions," he said. "Start talking," Adam demanded. David leaned back, sighing. "It wasn't supposed to go this far. Victor was careless. I built something powerful, unstoppable. But your mother got in the way. So did Emily's father." Emily's voice trembled with rage. "You had my father imprisoned. You let your wife die. Why?" David's expression didn't change. "Because emotion is weakness. Power survives on sacrifice." Adam stepped forward, fury blazing in his eyes. "You let me believe you were dead. You let me mourn you. For your own good," David replied coolly. "I needed to disappear to protect what I built." There was a long pause. Then Adam said the words that changed everything. "I don't care about your empire. I don't care about your secrets. I came here to end it." David smirked. "And what will you do, son? Destroy your own blood?" Adam looked at Emily, then back at his father. "I already have a family. One I chose." And just then, Emily pressed the hidden mic beneath her coat. Every word was being transmitted. Interpol had been listening the whole time. David stood frozen as agents burst through the doors. He didn't fight. He didn't even flinch. As he was led away in cuffs, he looked at Adam. "You'll thank me one day." Adam turned his back. There was nothing left to say.